Stop pursuing self-improvement. I know, that sounds counterintuitive, especially on a channel dedicated to personal growth, but I want you to hear me out for a second. The traditional approach to self-improvement is fundamentally flawed, and in today's video, I'm going to be explaining why most people's approach to becoming better actually blocks their success and what you actually should be doing in order to see some self-improvement. Hint, it's not about setting goals. Here's a question for thought. Have you ever wondered why that initial burst of self-improvement energy always seems to fizzle out? We've all been there. You download a new fitness app, you buy a new notebook for journaling, or you sign up for that online course you've been eyeing. The first few days feel absolutely amazing, and you're crushing your new routine. You're feeling accomplished, you're feeling like you genuinely believe that this time it's going to be different. But then something shifts. Take Sarah, who started a daily meditation practice with incredible enthusiasm. And by week 3, her 20-minute sessions became 10 and then became 5 until they eventually stopped altogether. And so this pattern is incredibly common, and psychological research helps to explain why that is the case. And so motivation behaves kind of like a candle, and it burns very bright initially, but it will quickly diminish without a sustainable fuel source. And according to research from the American Psychological Association, willpower operates like a muscle that fatigues throughout the day. Each decision that you make, each temptation that you resist, and each difficult task that you tackle, they all draw from the same limited reserve of mental energy. Scientists call this ego depletion. And it explains why even the most disciplined people find their resolve weakening as the day progresses. Think about it for a second. Have you noticed how much easier it is to stick to your healthy eating plan at breakfast versus at dinner? How your morning meditation happens without resistance, but by evening, Netflix seems that much more appealing. That's not a character flaw. That's your brain's natural response to its depleting mental resources. And here's what makes everything worse: social media. When your motivation inevitably dips, you open Instagram and you see someone who is crushing it in their goals, seemingly effortlessly. Their transformation photos make it seem like they've never struggled a single day in their life. But what you don't see are the false starts or the systems that they built to support themselves when their motivation disappears. And so the classic January gym rush that empties by February doesn't happen because people stop caring about their health, but it happens because their exercise habit is built on temporary motivation rather than sustainable systems. Similarly, buying an expensive planner doesn't make you organized without a system that makes the planning effortless. And so these failures stem from misunderstanding how behavior changes. People who achieve lasting transformation aren't necessarily more disciplined than you, but they've recognized that motivation is the spark that starts the fire, not the fuel that keeps it burning. And so the real difference makers understand something crucial, and that is that they do not rely on feeling motivated to take action. Instead, they build systems that make the right actions almost automatic, regardless of how they feel in a given day. For example, me recording this video. I'm recording this on a Sunday, and I am making a pact to myself that every Sunday I record an episode for content purposes. And the reason why it's easy is because I'm already dressed. I just came back from church, and it's just easier to just pop on the camera, pop on the microphone, and record something for like 12 to 15 minutes and hop off. Do that once a week, and I have 4 episodes recorded in a month. Easy as that. So what I want you to do is take a second and think about when you last examined whether your approach to change resembles an actual system or just a collection of well-intentioned goals. So what I want to do now is introduce you to a personal growth operating system. Think of it as an underlying framework that helps keep you moving forward, regardless of your daily motivation levels. Like gears in a well-oiled machine, this system creates consistent progress through interconnected components rather than relying on sporadic bursts of motivation, which we all know will inevitably flee. So let's do a quick assessment of where you're currently at. Yes, we're going to be starting right into this personal growth framework. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask you 3 questions. And for each of them, I want you to honestly and truthfully answer to yourself yes or no. Ready? All right. Question 1. Do you have clearly defined daily actions that you take without question? For example, a 5-minute journaling practice every morning before checking your phone. So answer to yourself, yes or no. Question 2, have you strategically designed your environment to make good choices easier? Like placing your workout clothes next to your bed so that you see them first thing in the morning. Yes or no? And third, are you tracking your progress in a way that shows momentum even when results are not immediately visible, such as marking each day you meditate on a calendar to visualize your consistency? Yes or no? If you answered no to any of the questions that I just mentioned, chances are you're probably working with goals rather than a true system. And so these 3 questions that I asked you are components that work together as essential parts of an effective personal growth system. It's clear daily actions, number 1, environmental design that removes obstacles, number 2, and progress tracking mechanisms that reinforce your efforts as number 3. Let me take a second to clarify something though. Nothing is wrong with setting goals, right? I'm all about setting goals. But if they are left as just goals with nothing in place to accomplish them, that's how goals fall apart. That's how you end up getting into this state of essentially zombie walking through life. Because if you have a goal and no way to accomplish it, it's just a daydream when you really think about it. And what's fascinating is how often we chase societal markers of success that don't really create lasting fulfillment. So now let's say you have the goal, but this goal is kind of vain and it's kind of empty. And research consistently shows that true fulfillment comes from achieving autonomy in your daily choices, mastery of meaningful skills, and purpose in your actions, not external validation or possessions. So in plain man speak, that means that our brain is more wired and more excited with the process of achieving the goal rather than the achievement of the goal itself. Consider what realistic achievements might actually improve your life satisfaction. Maybe it's improving specific health markers for more daily energy, or perhaps it's deepening key relationships or developing skills that enhance your earning potential while giving you more control over your time. These modest goals create a foundation for a genuinely satisfying life. And the practice of habit stacking is particularly powerful here, where you link new habits to existing ones, therefore creating a chain of positive behaviors. And the minimum effective dose principle is also equally important. And that states that sustainable progress often comes from small, consistent efforts applied over time rather than large, dramatic actions. Hence where, if you've been around Motivate, Grind, Succeed for a while, you'll know I talk a lot about IPITs, which are incremental positive impact tasks, aka tasks that are so small, failure is virtually impossible. What simple daily habits create the foundation for lasting positive growth, you might ask? The ones that are so small you can't say no to them, that naturally stack together, and that you can maintain even when life gets chaotic. And so these adjustments compound over time into absolutely remarkable transformations. However, despite us having this personal growth operating framework now, life has a very uncanny way of testing even our most carefully designed systems, right? So you built the perfect morning routine on paper, but what happens when your child gets sick or your boss drops an urgent project on your desk at 4:45 p.m.? The space between knowing what to do and doing it consistently is where most of your growth journey unfortunately ends up collapsing. And it's not because you've chosen the wrong goals, but because your system was not built to withstand real world pressure. And so when chaos arrives, and trust me, it always will, you will need more than just good intentions. You need implementation strategies that function even when you're running on 4 hours of sleep. Shout out to the parents out there. Last month, I experienced this firsthand when everything derailed despite careful planning. And to give you just a little bit of backstory into it, so I don't go into super big detail, last month I was working on a new venture with Motivate, Grind, Succeed brand. And I thought everything was going pretty well with it. Things were looking like they were going to be pretty good. It was going to be a huge benefit, or at least a huge potential benefit to the listeners of the show here. But one thing led to another, which led to another, which ended up making me shut everything down. And so the hours and weeks of work that I was putting in essentially all got scrapped. And so realizing that stuff like that can happen is a big part of this. And so this is where the remarkable power of implementation intentions comes into play. Specific if-then plans that automate your decision-making when obstacles arise. For me, for example, to use this in my own personal example, what I said was when I started to see some of the writing on the wall, I said, if this is not going to go exactly as I planned for it to go, we're just going to shut it all down. I didn't invest a ton of money into this. We'll be able to shut it down. We'll be able to recover. And the people on the outskirts, so for example, you who are listening right now, you're not going to see anything different. That way, it'll automate everything. We just continue on with the regularly scheduled programs and everything is just peaches and cream from the outskirts, right? What that might look like for you, for example, is instead of saying, I'll exercise more, you create the implementation intention, which will say, if my morning routine gets canceled, then I'll do a 10-minute bodyweight circuit during my lunch break, something like that. This pre-decision transforms how you respond to disruption. Your brain simply executes the pre-planned response without requiring motivation or willpower, which is particularly crucial when you're stressed and when you're tired, which is exactly when decision-making is the most compromised. In plain terms, you're using an iPit, which we talked about a little bit earlier, as a backup plan. And so breaking down your larger goals into smaller steps creates a pathway for progress even during those challenging times. Think of it as analogous to writing a book or building a house, brick by brick, page by page, right? If you want to write a book, writing 300 words feels doable even on your worst day, while writing a book feels incredibly overwhelming. Build a house seems incredibly overwhelming because you have the foundation / the structure, you have the plumbing, you have the interior, you have the design, you have the planning, you got all this kind of stuff, versus we just need to lay some bricks is way easier to stomach than we need to build a house. The smaller milestones also help to provide visible progress markers that help you to maintain momentum. And so establishing consistent routines with specific time blocks reinforces your commitment. Example, if Monday from 7 to 8 a.m. becomes your skill development hour, meaning this is the time that you set apart from the rest of your schedule to develop a certain skill in your life, you no longer debate whether to practice it or not. It simply happens. The structure itself strengthens your habit every single week. So design your systems assuming hardships will come. Most people create perfect day systems that will crumble under pressure. Instead, build in a fallback option, as we were alluding to earlier, such as a 5-minute meditation would deliver infinitely more benefit than simply skipping the entire one because you couldn't do your typical 30-minute practice. And lastly, accountability mechanisms provide external structure when internal motivation fluctuates. And so this might mean joining a support group, using tracking applications, or anything like that. And so when someone expects an update from you, you're way more likely to stay consistent through motivation dips. So during high stress periods, right, wrapping this all together, during high stress periods, focus on being better rather than being perfect. This relieves a lot of pressure from you while allowing continued progress by adapting your system to the current circumstances. Remember, consistency compounds over time, even when that consistency involves smaller efforts during the challenging periods. So now we understand why motivation sabotages your growth. We know how to build our personal growth operating system, and we have insight on how to implement it. However, there's still a problem. Even the most resilient systems face unexpected challenges. Have you ever noticed how some people maintain their progress regardless of what life throws at them, while others immediately fall off track? The secret is not superhuman discipline. It's understanding how to make your system bend without it breaking. Think of your habits like a dimmer switch rather than an on-off button. We design these beautiful personal growth frameworks when life is calm, but when your carefully crafted routine collides with a sick child or urgent work deadline, most people completely abandon their systems instead of adapting them. And so building true system resilience means planning with the assumption that hardships will come. It's not pessimistic, it's realistic. Your personal growth framework should anticipate inevitable challenges. And the question isn't if your routine will be disrupted, but rather when it is disrupted, how will you respond? Consider the following common scenarios, right? Sudden time crunches at work, midday energy crashes, competing priorities between career advancement and family time. Things like that you may or may not realize are there are all potential roadblocks. And so the solution to this isn't more willpower. It's during these high capacity periods, which again, inevitably will come, you might have to turn the intensity up during high capacity periods, meaning when you're able to handle more. And during the challenging times, when everything's battling for your attention, you may have to just turn the intensity back down. Example, if your normal workout is 45 minutes, mine are usually more akin to an hour, but let's say 45 minutes, but you're amid a very hectic week, scale it back to 15 minutes of high intensity training or a quick full body blast circuit instead of skipping it entirely. I know, based on this recording, tomorrow is Monday. I'm gonna have to do a workout tomorrow because again, tomorrow is Monday. However, I have a couple things that I need to do after work that need to get accomplished. And unfortunately, I'm not gonna have an entire hour to exercise. I might only maybe have about 30 minutes. So instead of me skipping the exercise entirely, I'll still go to the gym, but I'm going to make the best of those 30 minutes that I have in there so I still have time to get an exercise routine in while still being able to take care of all my other responsibilities. And so the key here is maintaining the behavior pattern itself, even if the volume changes. Therefore, preserving the neural pathways that you built. Most people lose motivation when they don't see the immediate results during the adaptation periods. This is where understanding leading and lagging indicators become crucial. And I'm dropping a lot of information on you in this episode, but stick with me, we're almost done. Lagging indicators are visible outcomes like weight loss or business growth, and leading indicators are behaviors that produce those results. So when visible results plateau due to life circumstances, shift focus to your leading indicators. Ask yourself a question. Did you still prepare healthy meals 3 times this week despite your schedule? That is worth celebrating. Did you have brief but meaningful conversations with your partner during your busiest of weeks? That consistency matters. This shift from outcome goals to process goals separates temporary achievers from high performers. Did I lose weight? Nah, don't ask that. Ask, did I follow my nutrition plan? The first, did I lose weight, can discourage during the plateaus, while the second question, did I follow my nutrition plan, acknowledges actions that eventually produce results. And the people who make lasting change aren't those who never struggle. They're those with the protocols, the personal growth framework for adapting when struggles come. Consistency is not perfection, but maintaining momentum. To close everything out here, here's the truth about transforming your life. It's not primarily about the goals you set, but about the systems that you build that can carry you forward when momentum fades. These systems need to be adaptable, evolving with you as you progress towards your version of success. And the beauty of effective systems is that they work even when life throws its inevitable curveballs your way. Remember, goals are not the enemy. They're simply destinations. Your systems are the vehicles that will eventually get you there. When you're ready to leave behind the motivation roller coaster and create lasting change, what I've done for you is create a free training just for you, where you'll learn exactly how to build these effective systems that consistently deliver results, breaking down your biggest dreams into manageable steps with built-in accountability, aka I give you a system that I still use day to day to help myself build that personal growth framework. If you're interested, check out the first link in the description, and I'll see you in the next one.